I am jealous of shy people. Let me explain. So my entire life growing up, I've always been such an extrovert. The type of guy who loves talking to people. I'm not afraid of public speaking. I'm willing to make videos talking all day, every day, which is probably why I make videos all the time. Now, the reason that I say I'm jealous of shy people is because of this story that I need to tell you. So a few months ago, I started hanging out with this girl, and we didn't do a normal date. So the first time we hung out, I essentially picked her up from her house, and all we did was sit in my car and talk. Now, that being said, there was definitely a lot of sexual tension there, but I didn't want to do anything because, I don't know, I guess I'm not that type of person. I always value talking over doing things with girls, which is not like any other guy. And I swear, I think that this girl saw that as like a challenge to like win over my attraction or something. And I was very attracted to this girl because she was attractive in general. But for some reason, something in my head, all I wanted to do was talk. So that's what I did. So I'm sitting in this parking lot, empty parking lot, by the way, with this girl. And for probably an hour and a half, we just talked. Mind you, this girl is like touching my hair, touching my face, doing all this to, I guess, try to win me over. And it just wasn't working because I just didn't care about that. In fact, I would say this is one of my biggest flaws. So I love talking so much that I literally valued that over having a romantic potential relationship with this girl. I decided, screw this, I'd rather just be friends and like talk to somebody and have somebody that I can enjoy their company. And I thought that would be better. So we hang out, and literally every single time, I'm just talking myself to death. And it gets to a point where I talk so much that I ended up looking back on it and realizing that I've said way too much. I revealed all of my cards. I'm literally an open book. But for some reason, this girl still liked me. But then I look back to the past of all the times I've done this before, and it's never been good. It's never been a good thing to talk too much. It just is simply bad. It reveals way too much about me. So now I go to this girl's house again, and I just keep doing it back to back to back, and I can just tell this is not all she wants to do. She wants to do more than just that, if you know what I'm talking about, which is why it's so crazy, because I'm sure that any other guy she's been with before is fine with. So I'm pushing the limits here. I'm making jokes. I'm like being completely vulnerable. I'm saying embarrassing stories, and it just doesn't end. This girl will not stop liking me, and I'm not saying this to be cocky. I think this might have actually been a red flag. So now it gets to a point. We've been hanging out for a couple of weeks at this point, and I've ran out of things to say. I've told every embarrassing story, every bad thing about myself, and this girl still likes me. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this girl is too perfect. But I talked so much that I lost all attraction. It became way too friendly. And I'm not even joking when I say that. It became so bad that I had to end it completely. I told her, it's not gonna work. I have to focus on making videos and like doing whatever I do for my career. And it ended right then and there. And looking back, what I realized is that if I was a shy person, it probably would have worked out with her. And what this made me realize is that quiet people are literally more attractive, just in general. So I did some research into this, and I discovered that this is not some new sort of concept. This is literally a thing that's been taken polls on, and there's been tests done on it. Shy or quiet people are literally considered more attractive. And I want to list all the reasons that I found. Number one that I have right here is that they are deep thinkers. So when you're not talking all the time, you have so much more time to think. And I've realized this, especially as I've grown up and now that I'm 19, I understand that if I've been quiet more than I spoke, I would have learned so much more and said so many better things, and I wouldn't have come off as dumb to people. See, people who are loud can come off as more courageous at times, but also you can just become that funny guy that like is not seen as attractive. And that's what I realized. My friends who are more quiet get the opposite attention. They get more attention from girls, if anything, is what I noticed. Not only this, but when I say attractive, I'm not just talking about sexual attraction or anything like that. I'm talking about attraction to everybody. So even people that you would like to be friends with, let's say you meet somebody, some like cool guy who's like really rich or something, I don't know, maybe it's a guy you want to learn from. If you say less, they're going to be more intrigued about you because your words hold more value. Which is going to lead me to point number two. Shy people think before they speak so much more. I've had so many times where I just blurt out the first thing on my mind and it's screwed me over. I can't even count how many times I've sounded so dumb and I've come across as that, like, I guess, person who's not really thinking. And if I was shy, I feel like I would have had so much more time to think about what I was going to say. And instead of just speaking instinctively, I would have waited for a time that's right. And the same applies to the story with this girl or just any girl in the past. When I've been more selective with my words are always valued more. Point number three, it says here that people who are shy are a lot more authentic. And I've realized this is so true. Whenever I say things to sort of fill the air and just keep a conversation going, there's been times that I bend my personality in a way that I'm not actually thinking. Like I've said things that aren't even true. There's white lies. There's just certain things that should not have been said. And it might make you come off as less authentic and less of yourself and more of a people pleaser. So shy people tend to be less of a people pleaser. They tend to be more just self-centered, but in a good way. Self-centered in the way that they value their values. And like they actually state their values and they abide by them rather than conforming to what other people want them to say. And in the past, I've realized, especially with girls, even the one that I was talking about, is that I will agree with things with people to make them feel good, when in reality, that's not even what I think. And I've luckily begun to stop doing this less and less, but that's another thing. Shy people are literally their true self. Reason number 4 that I'm jealous of shy people. Shy people are difficult to figure out. If you remember when I was talking about that story with the girl, I had everything on display. I was literally an open book. That being said, you would think that being an open book is a good thing. Like everybody can understand you. No, that's not what you want. You want to be mysterious as possible in almost every setting. A girl setting, a business setting, it doesn't matter. Because when people don't know you and they can't seem to figure you out, they think about you more often. Because if you figured somebody out, there's nothing to think about. You just know who they are as a person. But if somebody has to figure you out, you're on their mind more often and you're occupying their headspace. And this is something that I'm working on a lot more. I mean, my whole life is out there on the internet at this point, so like, does it really matter? Who knows? But my point is that if I was more mysterious, I think that people would truly find me more interesting. That being said, I've noticed being a talker, people do find me pretty likable, at least to what I've seen. Maybe people don't like me behind my... Reason number 5 that I'm jealous of shy people. So what I have here is that shy people are harder to win over, which is completely true. And something that I've realized about human psychology, and that I've seen studies on this too, the way that people think is that when somebody is harder to win over, when people have to work towards a goal, the goal of making somebody like you, when that person likes you, it's valued a lot more. See, me personally, I always like people. Like instantly when I meet them, I'm like the type of person who puts them on a pedestal. Like I like people a lot. I just love talking. I love people in general. I always see the good side in people. But people who are shy and talk less typically are not like you. Have to win them over, and it almost feels like you're fighting for their attention, which I know it can sound crazy, but I mean, like, zoom out and look at your scenarios. There's probably a lot of times, let's say there's a popular person at your school who's more quiet or won't talk to you. If you feel like you have to win over their presence, for some reason, as humans, that's something that we enjoy and something that we value. That's why I notice sometimes it's good to have an extroverted friend and an introverted friend. The extroverted person has to win over that friend, but then the inverted friend is never going to want to lose that extroverted person because it feels like they're their missing half. And if I was shy, I think that my connections, my friends, the people who know me in business would honestly value me a lot more. That's not to say that they don't like me. I feel like I have a really close connection and relationship with a lot of my friends and people that I know. But if I were to restart life and go about it in this sort of way where I talk less and I have to be won over, I feel like that'd be kind of cool. Reason number 6 that shy people are extremely powerful. So with that girl, the story that I told you guys at the beginning of this, if I had been more quiet with what I said and said a lot less, I genuinely think this girl would still be texting me and obsessed with me today, because she'd be wondering and so curious about me. So the people who are shy use their power more wisely. And something that I noticed is that because I have like a decent following on social media, people always seem to actually put me on a pedestal a lot of times because they're just glazing, for lack of a better word. But that's what happens to a lot of influencers or people who make content, is they get put on a pedestal because humans look at popularity as something that's very, very important, although I don't really value that much. What I notice is I try to make people feel so comfortable whenever I talk to them. When people come up to me on the road, and I have a lot of clips of it, especially recently, where people ask me for a picture or stuff, I'm almost coming off as the fan to them. They're not the fan of me. I'm the fan of my followers, I guess is what you could say. Like, I'm not even joking. When people come up to me on the road, I try to comfort them. I try to say every single thing that I can that sounds nice. And sometimes that can make me have less aura, I guess you could say. I don't know. It's like I start from a place of power. I start from this like pedestal sort of thing. And then when I meet people, I like bring myself to issues that the average person sees somebody with a lot of followers and thinks they're way above them. And instantly my first instinct is like, no, I'm not above you. You need to understand that I'm not above you. And I make it very apparent. But people who want to have power, and I'm not saying this is the best thing, and this is just true. If I wanted to have a lot of power, I would be a lot less nice to people. I would say a lot less. I would just probably give a quick smile, not say anything, say nice meeting you and all this. But nah, I'm the type of person that like, how's your day going? Like all of this. Now, am I glad that I'm this type of person? Honestly, in this way, yes, I am. I don't think I'd rather be somebody who has this sort of ego like most influencers or people with like a good amount of followers. You know what I mean? And I see you guys on the street all the time, by the way. I probably meet at least one of you per day. So if you ever see me, just understand I'm probably going to be more of a fan of you than you are a watcher of me. Because the way I see it, you guys are the only reason I'm here, and I just think it's insane. The 7th thing that I notice about shy people is they come off as a lot more intelligent. You could be as dumb as a rock, but if you're quiet and you don't reveal much about yourself and you don't say much, you're just gonna seem smarter because there's less opportunity to sound dumb. If somebody's talking about, let's say, a problem going on in the world, let's say people have a problem with the president, and then you give all of your opinions, all of your political opinions, and you just say everything that you think, everything that's on your mind. No matter what you say, you could be right, you could be wrong. People are gonna think you're dumb simply because they disagree. The thing is, people love to be right. So let's say you disagree with somebody on some topic. They're literally going to try to justify why they don't like you by thinking that you're dumb, you're not a likable person, all this. But if you're quiet and you never said anything in the first place, they would never have had that opinion, and you're just going to be overall more likable to a broader spectrum of people. The 8th great thing about shy people, and this one is so strong it's insane. So what I noticed is that people who are shy or quiet are such good listeners, and a lot of times when people talk and they tell you about their day, they tell you things about themselves, they don't even want a response. They just want to tell somebody because it makes them feel good about themselves. So when you talk to somebody who is more extroverted, they're likely to respond and put their own opinions and talk about their own day and things like that. But most people don't want to hear it. They just want to talk about themselves, and that might be a selfish thing, but that's just how most people are. So when you're quiet, people think that you're just a great listener and you care about them so much. So when you're quiet, people are going to think that you care about them a lot more. Overall, I think that being shy is one of the most underrated things, but I want you guys to leave your opinion in the comments below and watch this video if you want to hear more stories.